Hey, good afternoon. This is Ed Kinsey with 52 Weeks to ProsperousLiving.com. Your way of getting in control of your money rather than having your money in control of you. I'm excited today here because the market's down. I'm looking at it, it's down 212 points right now. And I know that's odd, but I get excited about that because what it does is it creates validity to my theories and my investment advice. Probably better said, my saving advice. We're trying to save your nest eggs. So if you want to get rich, become a millionaire, and win the lottery, I'm not for you. Nor is Mark for that matter. But if you want to be safe and protected and stop losing money and in my opinion looking stupid in doing so, this is how you do it. So this is my first brain shark, so forgive me for that. But we're going to go ahead and just look at two quick slides that I pulled together from another presentation that I've done. And so, sorry, it's not much fancier, but let's go ahead and look at this next slide. Okay, so here we are. Indexing 101, slide 2, right? It says figure 2 at the top, but that's just because I stole this slide from another presentation of mine. But we're just going to look at the indexing basics here. The red line is the indexed account. The blue line would be an account that's actually invested in the market. In our hypothetical market here, we had alternating gains and losses of 10% over a 10-year period. That ends up being 5 years of 10% gains and 5 years of 10% losses. So you'll notice that, logical math would tell you the average return is going to be 0 in this account. The wonderful problem is that the actual return is negative. You actually lost $49 over that 10-year period if you're invested in the market. Now the way indexing works is it gives you a 0 on the years that the market goes down. So if the market goes down, you get 0, you come out ahead. So you notice like after year 2 where there's a loss after that initial year of gain, our account value is at 1100 instead of 990. So we're ahead for the next year when we get a 10% return. Our $1,100 is earning 10% rather than our $990, on top of the fact that the 1100 is still there instead of 990. So after a year of good gains again there in year 3, we're up to 1210 by indexing versus only being at 1089 for that account value if we're actually in the market. And so on this goes over our hypothetical 10-year period to where you notice at the end here your indexed value is $1,611 versus $951. So that's a pretty significant difference. And we're talking nearly 60% difference in your rate of return over this 10-year period. Indexing really is wonderful. So now as we jump ahead to our last slide in this presentation, we're going to look at a real life example, not necessarily a hypothetical where we can argue, well, that's just hypothetical. In real life, indexing doesn't work. Now there are some restrictions with indexing. I mean, you can't just go to your stockbroker and say, hey, just index my stock account, call it good. It's a little different. You need to have a third party in there, typically an insurance company, taking care of this. So most of the time indexing is involved either in a fixed indexed annuity or an indexed universal life policy. That creates some restrictions sometimes, but also gives us some wonderful guarantees. But that's for another discussion. Let's take and finish up our understanding of indexing and how it works in the real world. Let's take the Japanese stock market index, the Nikkei index, and go from 1989 to 2009. Now it was doing really well in 1989 and isn't doing so well anymore, but it's had some good up years since that time. If we take a look at things here, we're going to bump up the ante a little bit. Instead of playing with $1,000, we're going to play with $100,000. Something, again, similar to what a lot of us see in our nest eggs as we start moving towards retirement. And if we look over this 20-year period following our blue line, invested just in the Nikkei index, almost like, like we call, our index one of the common ones, the S&P 500. Well, this Nikkei is similar. but it's in the Japanese index, or it's in the Japanese market there. So if you'd have put $100,000 into the Nike index at some point there in 1989, by 2009 you would have ended up with a whopping $27,101. Not a very good investment. Or if you could have taken and followed that index, but actually indexed that in your account, be it through life insurance or a fixed indexed annuity, you could have enjoyed those upswings in the good years and avoided the hard down years. And the difference comes out to be an ending balance in your account of $228,134. So it's kind of like that Capital One commercial of, who wants more money? Well, this is how you get more money. You can take and play the ups and the downs in the market, or just take zeros in the bad years and enjoy the upswing in the market, or at least a portion of it. This we took and threw some caps in there and limited it to a 14% growth in the good years, even though some of the time it returned better than that if you're actually in the market. And so we take and we, again, question is, which would you want, the 228,000 or the 27,000? I think most people are going to see that this is a pretty clear-cut question and answer. So there's kind of your basics of indexing. Again, the biggest benefit is the fact that in the down years you get nothing. You don't get losses, but we don't want those. We just want zeros in those years. Zero is our hero. And then when we get in these upswings, good markets, good market years, we can enjoy the upswing there. As always, this isn't particular investment advice for anybody. You need to talk with your financial advisor, discuss your specific situation. This is more just a brief overview of indexing and how it works, and hopefully get you interested in talking a little bit more about it and getting this in as part of your retirement nest egg, or your retirement plan or program, whatever you want to call that. So hopefully this helps, and again, best of luck to y'all out there in this crazy world, from Mark and I here at 52 Weeks to Prosperous Living.